Hello everyone. Today I want to say something on Roll20, but not really on Roll20, but a really great enhancement to Roll20, which is a great help, especially for DMs. And what I want to talk about is the VTT Enhancement Suite. It's a free project. It's not by me. It's made by many really good people um, who are who were developing a plugin for several browsers, at least Firefox and Chrome. I'm using Chrome here, um, which provides you with really helpful abilities and add-ons to Roll20. So the only thing you have to do is to add this plugin to your browser. I can also show you where it is, and if you are familiar to Discord, there's also a free Discord group for the VTT Enhancement Suite. You can see here, and in the links section, you get all the links you need to maybe if you want to contribute some things, you can also maybe I don't know, you can try to develop by yourself or help them. The important thing here is Firefox extension and Chrome extension. That's where you get it. And of course, you can or maybe should spend some money on it because it's a free project. They are doing really good work, and they are heavily involved in developing it further because every change in Roll20 break maybe some things in the VTT Enhancement Suite. So what you have to do is just you click here, Enhancement Suite, you come to the Chrome Store, and you have to download the extension, which gives you a zip file which you can extract, and then you can go to the Chrome extensions. Same for Firefox, of course, and enable the developer mode there and load unpacked because you unpacked the zip. And if you enabled it, it looks like this one here. This is the VTT Enhancement Suite. Here the VTT Enhancement Suite newest one currently is 1.17, and then you can start. I already have loaded it here. You can see it. This is the welcome section of the Enhancement Suite. I can say check whether there's an update, then get the information there's a new version for it. And here, if you have it installed already, you can see here the Discord server. So I don't want to talk about all of the features it has because there are many features. I just want to talk about the features I'm using and I think which are very useful for me at least as a DM. So if you have it installed, you can see here now the settings, VTTES settings, and this is all you can set. And you see there's really many sections, and I just want to talk about some of them. Maybe it's possible to have it somewhere visible without hiding the suite itself. So, no, almost. Okay, there's one thing which is really helpful, the alternative page toolbar menu. You can, this is just, this is just some fancy stuff, but the real thing is what you get is if you have many maps, you know how it looks like usually in Roll20. It's a great area, and if you have many maps, it's very awkward to navigate through them. And now they are ordered as a list, and you have much more space then. You can look how this would look like in the usual settings without the VTT Enhancement Suite. Then you see it's in my eyes it's okay. This is a matter of taste maybe, but I think it's far more comprehensible if you have the setting with this list style. And of course you can then drag the maps as before You have here this player section. Everything's the same. The only thing is you have a list. This is very helpful, I think. You can say display the current layer, which I'm usually use, display current layer on canvas. This means you can say what is the layer I'm on. Currently I'm on the objects layer, and you can see here I configured it to be a little bit smaller than the default, and it has a little bit of transparency here. The tokens layer, if I switch to the DM layer or the lighting layer or the map layer, so it's not very necessary for me, but it's a nice thing. Much more useful are some other things. Draw token layer on tokens. It looks a little bit similar, but it's for the tokens. Where are the tokens? I usually know where my tokens are. They are mostly on the token layer. And the other stuff, and I don't want to have here for the tokens on the token layer additional stuff around them because it's crowded enough. But it's very helpful to know which tokens are on the DM layer, because they are a little bit transparent and not very good to see. So it's, in my opinion, it's not a bad thing to have this marker here. They are on the GM layer. And of course you can configure this too. You can say, as you see here, I configured only to show them on the on the GM layer. You can here click, of course, if you want to mark them for the other layers, and you can set the opacity, of course. Then it's barely visible at all, so there's nothing we should do. I think this is very helpful, especially if you not have tokens but maybe other parts of the map on a GM layer, like stuff like this, or you have maybe here some secret doors or whatsoever. Yeah, that's very helpful. Then another thing is hide player list. For the GM, everything is crowded enough on the screen, and if you know, okay, all my players are now in the game, I know they are in the game, and I don't want to do many things here with these player stuff. Then you can also say, okay, I save a little space in to with hiding the player list. That's here's, of course, it's not much gain, but if you have here several players and you have your macros and maybe you have some character sheets open and so on, then at least it helps a little to hide the player list. Not very important, but maybe helpful. So let's come to the other section, tokens. What can we do with tokens? Of course, there's a first section, the bulk macros, which is very helpful. This token displays just where and how the status status markers are displayed. But bulk macros is very useful. You have here a small video within it to show what it does. I can show you too. For instance, if you have here several tokens, and if you have defined several macros which are helpful for you, you can, for instance, I'm using an API for the token mod API for doing things. I can say, okay, I don't want to have all these names here because they use up too much space. I could say names off for all. So the macro name off is executed for all this is selected. Yeah, I can do this here too. Name off for all of them. I don't have to say, okay, here and name off, here, name off, here, name off, and so on. And depending on what you are using for macros, this can be very helpful. At least what I'm using it for, of course, is initiative is the most used. Maybe I have a status macro also tied to the token mod. API. But at least initiative is something you would want to have. So initiative is rolled for all selected tokens at once. If you have many tokens in an encounter, it's very helpful to do it this way. Or if you have attacks or whatsoever and you want to execute them for many of them. Or if you have, for instance, if you want to say, I want to set hit points or whatsoever, or yeah, whatever you are using as macros, it's very helpful. Another thing is the roll and apply hit dice, which is very useful. I think it's boring if you have 10 orcs and all have the same hit points, which is here 15 for all of them. Then the players will get used to, oh, they have 15 hit points, so it's only 2 left, and then let's switch to the other one, and so on. I think it's more fun to have different hit points, but it's very much work to do if you want to set them here manually. So it's easy without writing a macro. The macro is embedded in the VTT enhancement suite. You can say I select all these and say not bulk macro but hit dice. And there's one thing you have to do to use this, because people are using different bars. Some are using bar 1, 2 or 3 for the hit points, and you have here just to configure which bar you are using. And you can see I'm using the first bar for the hit dice, so this is correct. And I can say I use the NPC HP formula, of course, and then if I say hit dice, they are rolled. You can see here for the first orc 17, 12 and again 17, 17, 12, 17, which of course works for different types of tokens. I could roll all of these tokens, and they are different character sheets. So the succubus gets 70, here gets, oops, oh, it's the other succubus, I guess, this one. This succubus got 71, this is 59 here. This this was yes, a different character with 94 and so on. So this is very helpful. Then there are some things I don't use it, but maybe you want to use it. Libra Audio or whatsoever. I don't use it, but maybe it's helpful for you too. You can check out. Another thing I use is the initiative part. One thing is open turn tracker on initiative. So whenever I'm rolling initiative for a token, the turn order opens automatically. And also very helpful is ping the visible token if the current token is on in the order, and select this token is a very helpful thing if you have many tokens in the initiative. So if first I should order it. Okay, I can mention this. Here is also a thing, automatically sort initiative, which is of course useful. I wouldn't have to sort it manually. I'm using it not because I most of the time use stuff like if someone is casting a spell like Bless, I use a counter for the Bless spell. So if Neville Daggerford would have used Bless, then this is decremented automatically. And if I would use automatic sort order, this would be automatically always sorted, and it wouldn't be useful. So that's the reason why I don't use it. If you don't use such stuff, you can of course say I say sort automatically sort initiative. I can maybe just, you see, okay. I will start from scratch. Uh, so now I use the initiative, and as you see, everything is added to the initiative and sorted automatically. But for the reasons I said, I don't use it usually. Yes. This is not so necessary. These things are a little bit useful, ping and select, because if you have many of the many tokens in your initiative order, it's very helpful, and maybe you have them very widely spread on the map. It's very helpful to see, oh, this is the one which is now on turn, and oh, this is the one now on turn. I know I can see them by just hovering the mouse over it, but there's also the possibility to say move camera to token, and if I now have them very dispersed on the map and I can't see everything, so I would say then now Serbaristan, it's centered on it, and then it's centered on that, and nevertheless, no matter where they are on the map, you get to them very fast. Can be also very helpful, and sometimes I use this also. So next part would be the export functions. This is also helpful. What have we here? Exporting. You can use the character importer and exporter. Of course, there's the possibility in Roll20 to use the character vault tool, which everybody has, but it's a little bit awkward using it to put things in this vault and then exporting them to a different game. It's not very helpful or user-friendly designed UI for the character vault, I think. And there's also the possibility, if you're a pro user, you have this transmogrifier where you can drag and drop characters from one game to another. But it's very helpful to sometimes store characters on your hard disk. And this is what the character X and importer provides. You can you have then I can show you, if you have a character there, let's say this one, you have then here the export tab now, and you can say export this character as a JSON file somewhere on your hard disk. And then if you are in some other game, you can just reload it. This is eventually, or maybe it's helpful if you design manually your own tokens and characters, NPCs or monsters, and you want to reuse them. And even if you have the monster manual or whatsoever, you have to get them into your next game. Maybe if you created them manually, you have to get them in the next name, and you can set up your own monster manual or NPC manual on the hard disk with these JSON files and import them. Yeah, you have one game where you create them, then you say export these characters somewhere on your hard disk, and in another game you can reuse them. This is also very helpful. I'm using it also for stuff like this. I have characters which represent spell effects like a fireball. I have a different small video about this. and I can export these characters. I have them on the hard disk, and if I want to use the spell effect, which is a character or an NPC, I can import them into my game, into my new game, so it's very easy to get this. So in my eyes, it's very, very helpful to have this exporter and importer. And an export you saw. An import means you have here this button. Then import, you can just I can see here I have some. Here are my spell effects. For instance, I could add Evert's Black Tentacles. It's missing here. So of course it's added on this. It's added on the bottom. But and instantaneously I can use it. Very helpful. So another thing is the jukebox importer. You can X and import playlists if you use this. It's also very helpful. You don't have to mind, oh, what was this great tune or sound effect I used in my last game. Then you have the player macro importer and exporter. This is also a thing which you will love if you have many macros like me. You have here this import export macro. So you could, for instance, the great thing is you don't have to X and import them one by one. I have here, for instance, these are the standard macros I have set up. If I import it, you see this, all these, add the duplicate or update the first macro, can also say, and you can just import maybe several you want to use in your game. But if you have such a collection of macros you are always using, you can export them into one JSON file and then re-import in your game whatever you want of them or all of them. This is also very great if you are working with macros, of course. If you don't use them, forget about it. So what have we more? We have this table importer. Okay, you might end up sometime if you are using rollable tables in your game. Here are none of them currently, but I usually use many rollable tables. For instance, if you have a sorcerer, a wild magic sorcerer with wild magic table, once I created a wild magic table, which is very big, with 50 entries as far as I see, and you don't want to create this list for all of your games again. And now it's possible to have this list and export it and import it. And I can show you probably here rollable tables. I have here this white magic table, and with a click you have all these wild magic effects, which are set up once. Yes, I think this is the most important thing here. Journal, there are some small things. Duplicate in the journal context menu is sometimes not bad. For instance, if you want to duplicate here the skeleton, usually you have to say okay, edit, duplicate, and you can spare this and just say duplicate. Same thing. It's just a shortcut. Character sheet ability macro generator is also not bad sometimes, but it is a little bit tricky, I should warn you. For instance, you have this skeleton. Easy peasy, you have only one action. This is no big thing. But you can use now a macro generator, which means select a sheet. Of course, this is the sheet you have here. Then you can create ability macros here on this attributes and abilities thing, it will show up. For player attacks, player tools, spellbook, whatsoever, NPC actions. Now, of course, it's NPC actions, but if there's none of these is available, nothing will happen. Show as token action is very helpful. So, and now I can just do it. Found nothing to macro for. Okay. Okay. That's because I already did it. I can delete it and do it again. So now the macro or the function founds there is an NPC action named short sort, which looks like this, and you can create a macro for it. And now you have here this macro and show as a token action. And of course, what the helpful thing about it is, if you have this token here, you don't have to open the character sheet to use this short sort. You can just click on the created macro and have the short sort. For this one, it's of course it's nothing, but if you use where was it? For instance, here this character, it's a spellcaster with many spells, of course, and if you use here's only bless is here. Okay, if you use for this character the macro generator, that this looks very much like this. Okay, let's maybe do some stuff like foldering here, small folders. Sort lexicographically is not helpful. And now let's just do the thing. You see there are very many macros, of course. All these player attacks, which are in the attacks section of the character sheet. Then you see here all these, here's an action for warding flare, ritual casting, which is of course just a text. You don't need this, of course not speed, stone scanning. These are the actions shown there, dwarven resilience, all these things, shelter the feathers, all these stuff which is there. I should have skipped it there. Turn undead. Radiance of the Dawn maybe is helpful. Warcast is not helpful. Improve flare. Spellbook cantrips is maybe helpful. And all this stuff. So let's do it. So, and now let's have a look what happened here. Now you have really some macros in it. And let's check one. For instance, this spellbook level 1. And it's of course also shown as a token action, so I don't even need this. I can say spellbook level 1. Then you have here this is what was meant with by foldering. You get one macro for the whole spellbook level 1, and then you have here these action buttons for the different stuffs. Like maybe I want to do a guiding bolt. Then it's rolling a guiding bolt. You see one thing which is not very good because it didn't ask me about the level I want to cast it on, but at least it's working. Okay, no, it's not wrong. I take it back. It has to ask me for the level just when I roll the damage, not for the attack, because for the attack the level is not important. And then of course you have this output. So it's not bad, I would say. Yeah. Let's use the third level spells. Here the fireball maybe. I think it's very very fun because you have to navigate through your character sheet. What spells do I want to use? Of course you have to have in mind which spells could be used, but that's it. I think this is very helpful. Is there more stuff? I don't think so. Yeah. What do we have here? Set rollable table avatar by URL. You can here just drop a file, or if you have the URLs, you can use this. Performance improvements. I don't know how much this changes. I always click it on. set character avatar from URL. You can here then, of course, set the avatar. I don't use it usually. Hide stuck tipsy pop-ups. This is very helpful. Sometimes I don't know if you encountered this, but for me sometimes it happens that I'm hovering over, for instance, a roll result, and then this roll result stays there forever. So maybe you should do this. The Chrome update checker, for instance, if a new version is there, you would get here in the first place, you have here this welcome screen, then you would have here a new version is available, and you can just click to get it. And last but not least, you have here this welcome screen. You can say show this welcome message I showed you, show a startup guide if you want to have a guide for all this stuff, and of course the changelog. So I hope maybe some of this is useful for you, and you can try it out. For instance, all the other stuff, because people are using different stuff in Roll20 than me. For instance, there are several options with animated backgrounds. I don't use them. You can try to do it. So then, have a good day.